Hey everybody, welcome. I'm Brian Mulligan, owner and operator of Mulligan Physical Therapy. I wanted to jump on here today and share with you guys a few helpful hints on weeding. It's a common problem going on right now as the grass is growing less than the weeds are. The weeds are growing a lot faster. Those of you that have gardens that like to have it as a hobby or something recreational to do, I'm sure you're getting overwhelmed with all the weeds that are growing in between your wonderful plants. So for those of you that have back pain, neck pain, knee and hip pain. Some of those issues can be a problem as you're trying to go through the routine and the task of weeding the ground. So I just wanted to go over a few helpful tips. Hopefully, this is something that can help you out. And basically, what you want to work on is trying to figure out a way that is not going to aggravate your conditions. If it's something you love to do, it's something you would hate to stop doing because something else is getting in the way, like knee pain, hip pain, back pain. So there are some ways that we could try to help you figure out how to do that a little bit more safely. But there are certain conditions where there's really not a whole lot of great options or answers based on your individual condition. So this may or may not apply to everything you got going on, but hopefully it'll shed some light on some of the things that we're dealing with here. So I'm going to jump over here and just show you briefly how you can accomplish this by using a few different options here. So if we're going to weed, typically we are, a lot of people do this whole deal. They bend over, they pick up the weeds, they do their thing, and then later on they're complaining about how bad their back is stiff and sore. So a lot of the reason is because you're actually leaning over, you're straining the back muscles, they're in a stretched position, they're in an active position. And the bigger problem actually is not so much the lean over that you get here, besides the fatigue and the soreness that sets in. It's actually once you come back up from that. We forget how important and uh, how heavy gravity is on our bodies. So when you're doing something like that, not only do you have all these muscles stretched out in a bad position, gravity is pushing down on me now. So when I go to get up, those muscles have a tremendous demand on them to be able to help the upper body weight of me to get back up straight. So there's a lot of strain that can happen there. So I would not recommend that we do it that way. A lot of people will do it that way, and again, I can almost guarantee they're going to have some type of back soreness later on or while they're doing it. So one simple way is to squat down, if you can, again, if your knees and hips are okay, and sit there and weed this way. A lot easier on your back, but again, if you have knee or hip conditions, may not be the greatest for that. Another option you could try is going down onto both knees. Again, if you can use those kneeling pads if you want to cushion those up a little bit. But now that I'm in this position, I can now reach and lean forward. I can move around a little bit. I can lean on my other hand so that as I'm doing that, I'm helping myself by not aggravating my back so much. Another modified way you can do that is by simply kneeling on one knee like this. And now I can lean onto this leg to give me some support and reach for the areas I need to go in. From there, you can simply just kind of scoot over to a different section, weed over here, scoot back over here to a different section, and weed over here. So there's a lot of opportunities to move around a little bit quicker and not have so much up and down with your spine if you're bending over. If that doesn't work for you, the other options we can look at is some of these weeding stools that they have that are similar to this. This is not exactly a weeding stool, but similar to this. So some people will kneel on these, again, depending on how their knees are, and they'll lean forward and do it this way. The other option is because most of them have a handle, it's helpful to push up from a kneeling position, or if you can, down into a seated position. So again, this is going to take a lot of strain off your back. Again, as long as your hips and your knees can tolerate it, it's a great position to be in. And from here, I can do my little weeding in certain sections. Then, of course, I'm going to have to move the stool around with me each time I move to get into a different situation. If you have to get onto your knees or you choose to be your position, what I do recommend is usually we need to use our stronger, less painful leg to do all the work to get us up. So even if I have to use a stool or the handle off of a stool or a chair nearby or something stable, if my left knee is the problem, then I'm not going to want to use that leg to help get me up. Because one is it might be too painful, and two is it may not even be strong enough to use all my body weight to get me up. The leg that I'm kneeling on is actually taking less of the force as I get up and down. So I want to use a stronger leg to get me up. Okay? Now the problem becomes is if you have a painful knee on one side and a weak hip on the other, it's a little tricky because you don't really want to be putting all the pressure on that painful right knee. And this left hip, if it's not real strong, is probably not going to get you up very easily either. And that's where you may need to go back to a sitting position or using a sitting stool. So I hope that helped a little bit. I know this is time where weeding is very big, so I hope that helped. And if you guys have any comments or questions, I'd love to see them in the boxes down below. Otherwise, like, share, and comment. Love to hear from you again. Take care.